The door to the room had stayed closed for years. Not because it was locked, but because the billionaire father was afraid of what he might feel if he opened it. His son, disabled since childhood, lived quietly behind that door, away from the busy world of money, meetings, and power. That morning, something felt different. A strange silence filled the mansion, heavier than usual, and it pushed the father down the hallway toward the room he had avoided for far too long. As his hand touched the handle, memories rushed back, hospital lights, broken promises, and nights he chose business over bedtime stories. He told himself this visit would be quick, just a glance, just to make sure his son was fine. But the moment the door slowly opened, his breath caught in his throat. The room was nothing like he expected. What he saw challenged everything he believed about strength, success, and disability. The walls told a story no money could buy, and the quiet child he thought he knew was not so quiet after all. Standing there, frozen, the billionaire realized his life might never be the same again. But the biggest question was he ready to face the truth waiting inside that room? He stepped inside slowly, closing the door behind him as if afraid the moment might escape. The billionaire took in every detail of the room, realizing how little he truly knew about his own son. Years ago, doctors had spoken in cold terms about limits and lifelong care, and he had accepted those words to his. He built an empire outside these walls, while his son built a world inside them. That truth settled heavily on his chest. His mind drifted back to the past long business trips, missed birthdays, and decisions made by assistants instead of a father. He had told himself he was providing the best care money could buy. Private nurses, special equipment, endless resources, but standing there now, he wondered if care without presence was ever enough. The silence between them felt louder than any boardroom argument. His son sat calmly, focused, unaware that this visit was changing everything. The billionaire noticed small details that raised new questions, things that didn't match the story he had been told for years. Had someone been hiding the truth from him? Or had he been hiding from it himself? A mix of guilt, fear, and curiosity tightened his grip. He wanted to speak, to ask what all of this meant, but the words refused to come. Something important was unfolding, and he could feel it. Whatever was happening in this room was only the beginning, and, once he understood it, there would be no turning back. The billionaire's eyes wandered around the room, lingering on objects that seemed ordinary but carried an unspoken weight. Drawings pinned to the walls, meticulously organized, told stories of a world he had never taken the time to see. Sculptures made from scraps of old toys and mechanical parts hinted at creativity and intelligence that had quietly grown in his son's solitude. Each piece seemed to whisper, I've been here, learning, creating, surviving, alone. He thought of the nurses who had come and gone, the therapists who had followed schedules, and realized how little anyone had truly listened to his son. And then a small handwritten notebook caught his attention. Its pages were filled with ideas, sketches, even plans for inventions. The father's heart raced. He hadn't known his son could do this, could think like this. He felt awe, yes, but also a sting of shame. How many moments had he missed? Choosing meetings over presence, wealth over connection. From the corner of the room, he noticed something else, an old laptop. Its screen dim but still running, filled with unfinished projects. The father wondered who had encouraged this secret world. Was it his son's own resilience, or had someone been quietly nurturing him? Questions swirled, each one heavier than the last. One thing was clear. What he was seeing now didn't just challenge assumptions, it threatened to change the way he saw his family, his life, and himself. Even as he stood there, unsure whether to step closer or retreat, the room seemed to hold its breath, as if waiting for him to make a choice. And deep down, he knew that the real journey, the one that would define both their lives, was only just beginning. The billionaire moved closer, his eyes scanning every corner, trying to understand the full scope of what his son had created. There was an intensity in the room, a quiet power he hadn't felt before. His son looked up, and for the first time, their eyes truly met not the distant, apologetic gaze of a child, but the steady, unflinching look of someone who had endured, learned, and grown without being seen. A sudden sound startled him, a faint click from the laptop. The screen lit up, revealing a program his son had been working on, something far beyond what anyone had expected. Graphs, codes, and prototypes scrolled past, each more astonishing than the last. The billionaire's chest tightened. This was more than talent, it was genius, a brilliance that had been hidden, waiting to be discovered. He realized he had underestimated the quiet strength of his son. All those years of focusing on wealth and status, he had missed the most important thing, the depth of a child who had been shaping a world inside these walls. Silently, a mix of pride, regret, and fear surged through him. What had he missed in all these years? What had been kept from him, intentionally or not? His son finally spoke, softly but with conviction. I wanted you to see this when you were ready. The words hung in the air, charged with meaning. The father's mind raced. Ready? Was he ready for the truth? For the revelation of a world he had never imagined? Every heartbeat felt louder, every second stretched, as the weight of the moment pressed down. The room was no longer just a room, it was a threshold, and crossing it would change everything. And then, a sudden motion on the screen, something moving faster than he could follow, made his pulse spike. This was it, the moment before everything changed. The point where he had to confront the reality of his son's brilliance, his own failures, and the secret that had been kept all these years. The climax was almost here, and nothing would ever feel the same again. As the billionaire leaned closer to the laptop, trying to make sense of the scrolling codes and diagrams, a new realization hit him, one that made his stomach twist. Hidden deep in the files was a message addressed to him, time-stamped years ago, written in his son's careful handwriting. Asterisk, when the time comes, you'll understand what I've done. The words were simple, but they carried a weight that made him shiver. How had he not known? Why had no one ever mentioned this? Before he could process it, another alert popped up on the screen, this one more urgent. A simulation he didn't understand began to run a complex model of something far bigger than a child's project. Numbers, plans, even real-world implications appeared, suggesting that his son's creations could impact far more than just their home. His heart pounded. Was this just an advanced invention, or something that could change lives on a massive scale? Suddenly, the doorbell rang, echoing sharply through the mansion. It wasn't the usual staff or delivery. The billionaire's mind raced. Could someone else know about this secret world? Was there a threat? Or was it an ally who had been watching over his son's work? The tension tightened. He realized that what he had thought was a private discovery might have consequences far beyond his understanding. His son watched silently, a calm intensity in his eyes, as if he had anticipated this moment. The billionaire felt a surge of fear and awe. This was no longer just about missed time or hidden talent. Something bigger was unfolding, and the stakes had just skyrocketed. One wrong move, and everything could unravel before he even had the chance to comprehend it. The suspense hung thick in the air, each second dragging him closer to a revelation he wasn't sure he was prepared to face. The billionaire's hand trembled as he reached for the laptop, his mind racing with questions. Then, his son spoke again, voice calm but unwavering. I built this for you, for us. With a few swift keystrokes, the screen transformed, revealing a prototype for a revolutionary device, something designed to help people with disabilities gain independence in ways the world had never seen before. It wasn't just a project. It was a life-changing invention, the culmination of years of quiet brilliance. Tears blurred the billionaire's vision as he realized the depth of what his son had achieved alone, without guidance, without recognition. All the missed birthdays, all the times he had prioritized work over family, suddenly felt insignificant compared to the power of what stood before him. He felt a mix of pride, guilt, and awe, knowing that this moment was a turning point not just for his son, but for the world. Then, the doorbell rang again, this time accompanied by footsteps, fast, urgent. Security had already entered the mansion, but outside the room, a team of researchers, investors, and even government officials waited. Somehow, his son's work had already been recognized, and now it was no longer just a family secret. It was a breakthrough the world would see. Before the father could speak, his son turned to him with a small, knowing smile. I wanted you to be the first to see it, but the rest, they're ready to stay. The billionaire realized he had underestimated his son in ways he could never have imagined. The room, once a place of quiet mystery, had become the stage for a revelation that would change everything, legacy, and the future itself. And then, almost imperceptibly, the laptop blinked again, revealing one final message. Asterisk, Dad, this is only the beginning. The billionaire's heart leaped, caught between pride, fear, and anticipation. The story